The food you eat can be broken down into three basic components: carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. For this video, we will ignore proteins and focus on carbs, which can be broken down into starches and sugars, and fats, which can be split into saturated and unsaturated. Starches will be broken down into glucose, whereas sugars will be broken down into both glucose and fructose. The fats will be referred to as saturated or unsaturated free fatty acid. Once the food you eat is broken down into glucose and free fatty acids, it enters the bloodstream where it can be taken up by adipocytes, also known as fat cells. Once inside the fat cells, the glucose, saturated, and unsaturated fatty acids start the process of getting turned into energy. One of the steps is going through what we will call the NAD machine. The food will go in the top of the machine and an important molecule called NAD+ will go in the left of the machine. Inside they are combined to make NADH. This NADH then goes off to the mitochondria where it is broken into ATP, which is used as energy in the cell, and NAD+ again. The NAD+ is now ready to go back to the NAD machine and combine with food again. The NAD will keep converting between NAD+ and NADH to keep the machine running.
The amounts of NAD+ and NADH need to be carefully balanced in order to keep the machine running fast. If there is too little NAD+, the food will be burned off at a much slower rate as it has much less NAD+ to combine within the NAD machine. The NADH will accumulate at the end of the machine, jamming up the process further. All this results in a lower metabolism for the cell and a greater accumulation of glucose and free fatty acids. The cell will then store the fatty acids as fat instead of burning it. The glucose will not be accepted into the cell and this will result in high blood glucose levels. One of the main factors in determining how much NAD+ is available for the NAD machine is the food type that is being burned. Glucose has the best NAD+ to NAD ratio with the most NAD+ made available by burning it. Saturated fat is next best though has significantly less NAD+ than glucose. Unsaturated fat results in the worst NAD+ to NADH ratio. Obese people have higher free fatty acids, meaning they burn less glucose and more fat. Also their fat is less saturated. Both of these factors result in low NAD+ and too much NADH. This means food cannot be burned due to a backlog of NAD jamming up the machine and not enough NAD+ entering the machine. Obese people need to lower their free fatty acid levels and make their fat more saturated. This will allow glucose to be burned at a high rate, leading to more NAD+ and increased metabolism.